And what are we starting with? I guess it would be Outlast.
Ooh, Outlast first. Well, we did do Outlast first, so that makes sense.
Exactly. Let me double check the formatting here. Okay. I believe you played a little bit of it, if I'm right, Rage, and Pseudo did play it, if I'm correct.
I played the first hour or so of the game.
Yeah, enough to know what you're doing.
I beat it in its DLC, but that was kind of a while ago.
Yeah, I mean, there's not like a lot of intricate mechanics to try to remember or anything like that. It's a pretty simple game at the core of it. Oh yeah, there's jumping. More than just running.
You sometimes jump, and you mostly die.
Yeah. Yes, the Outlast weight reduction plan, I fully endorse. You will lose tons of weight instantly as your body is removed from your head.
Seriously, like 90% weight lost.
In a matter of just seconds. He's just like, let me help you with that. And you're like, oh, thanks. I was trying to lose those pounds.
And then it's done. They did it. Success.
Yay. So, for those watching that don't know, we start at the bottom with our system. We built it and then we looked at it and went, hey, this works really well when we go from the bottom. So that's what we do.
Yeah.
So that was the...
We start with the more, focused bits. And once we have all the sort of meaningful thoughts that we've collected about those, then we can distill that into an overall score for that part of the game.
Oops. Indeed. So, without further ado, let's start with really the most important part of Outlast for a horror survival game, the storyline. The storyline is by far the most important part of the game.
And I would say it was competent. It was pretty good.
I'd give it a green on the story. I quite enjoyed it. It was enough to make me want to keep going and find out what's happening.
Yeah, there was a good level of intrigue. There was enough left to your imagination that you're filling in the gaps, which feels good.
Yep, well represented, well presented. The most important part of horror games is not jump scares. That is the second most important.
I think they're okay, like if they're done well here and there, but not like a modern, like Western horror movie. But you can definitely have it if you build up to it for like quite a long time, and not just have like a cheap jump scare.
Yeah.
Well, you don't like it when they just like slam every key on the piano all at once, and there's a guy standing behind the door.
Yeah, and every 5 minutes a door slams.
So on the quick topic of jump scare, my all-time favorite jump scare in a movie, Jurassic Park, when the raptor comes through the wall after he's turning on the power. Or she's turning on the power. That's probably my all-time favorite jump scare. I saw that movie 12 times in the theater. I jumped 12 times in the theater. To the point where, like, it's coming. It's coming.
I know it's going to be there.
It's about to come through the wall.
It's coming. Every time.
Yeah, that one nails me. Even though I know it's coming, it still gets me. I like the concept of building up to a jump scare, only for there to be nothing. You edgelord.
You should watch Japanese horror then. My God, you're just on edge for like hours.
GlenCon, have you seen The Strangers? Because that is your movie. That movie was so scary until halfway through the movie when I realized nothing ever happens. Up until that half, I was freaked. I was like, oh, this guy's gonna get it. Oh, he's gonna. Oh, after that, I was like, he'll be fine.
It'll be okay. Don't worry about it.
It was a really good movie other than that. But if you're into it for like some actual horror and gore, then no. Otherwise, like the scene and setting and tension and stuff like that, right up there, through the roof. Recommend that one for you. So story, I'm giving it a good, like I said.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that the storyline was well put together. They didn't put too much in your face. They left enough to your imagination. there was a good level of like sort of leading the player down a path of trying to figure stuff out. Hey, board.
Hey, board. Welcome, welcome. Glad you made it. I know there's no hockey today, unfortunately, but at least there's Twitch. We're doing a community service here.
Everybody just talk about video games with us.
Yep. What am I going? Format, wrap? I realize I'm a white guy, but I still need to wrap. There we go.
Yeah, there you go. You might want to just like grab that into. Yeah, there you go.
It's almost like I know what I'm doing.
Almost.
Never be confused. I don't actually know what I'm doing.
We're just really good at bullshitting.
Yeah. Characters. And board, you've played this game. It was your recommendation. So please, take part in this conversation on what was good and what wasn't. We'll make it more interesting when we get your guys' opinions with ours. We don't want to just stand here and talk. Characters, I'm going to go with,
Yeah. I was a little underwhelmed.
It's not a red, but it's Pseudo?
They weren't bad.
I thought some of them were good. Some of them kind of hooked in, but then some of them were kind of just way over the top. It just got kind of annoying after a while. It's like, okay, shut up. Come on, I want to keep going. Like, you can stop talking to me. But I think like character design, even for the ones that don't talk, I think they were done pretty well.
I would say that overall it was fine in a character department.
Yeah, it's an okay in my book. None of them are really super memorable to me.
No, definitely not.
That's the biggest thing, is like at the end of the game, like you kind of remember Chris Walker, but you don't really know what he looks like. And if he wasn't ripping your body off in the game, you probably wouldn't recognize him outside of the game very well. Little things like that. They were too normal.
I think the word that again I would use is competent.
Yeah.
It was competent character writing.
Yeah, it was okay. It was definitely nothing special. Is it more valuable to have characters with similar levels of realism? Do the outliers then feel less realistic as a result? I think keeping your basic characters and the general characters with a sense of realism, similar levels of realism, is a good thing. But key characters and like main NPCs, the main villain, stuff like that, should be more over the top. So that as you go into an area and look at the characters, you can go, that one's important. It helps a lot in the experience of the game. Like in a really good JRPG, as an example. Your main character sprites will be so standoutish and unique that you walk into the town and you go, that one's joining me, before they've ever said a word, just because their sprite is like so different from everything else in the game.
And there's a similar concept in anime, actually, where you want to be able to tell if somebody's going to be important to the storyline just by their silhouette. You want to be able to look at their silhouette and go, I know who that character is. I know what they're going to do. I know how they're going to act. And that's something that is often left out of a lot of game, specifically Western game design. And it can be very helpful.
I agree. Richard Traeger was a good character, but they killed him off too soon after introducing him. See, I don't even remember who Traeger was.
That was the doctor guy who was like chopping people up, and there was the executive like strapped up in that like suspension thing.
Is that the naked guy in the DLC?
No, I think it was in the main game.
Okay. You gotta take off, though. Wish I could stay. All these talking points are really neat. I'm glad you enjoy them. Have yourself a good one. You can always watch the VOD. They're always saved. Come pick our brains on it sometimes if you like. So are we in agreement on an okay on characters, then?
Yeah, I say okay.
Yeah, it was fine. There's not really all that much to complain about, but nothing to write home about either.
They meet their they perform their intended function. It's about the best I can say. They are there. You can tell what they are. You know you should be running from it. All the mechanical basics are there. They don't interfere with your ability to play the game or interact with the game. But yeah, the main thing is after finishing the game and the DLC, I can't tell you the name of any of them, and I don't care.
To just to quickly bring up Glenn Khan's point, because he asked me what I meant by over the top. What I meant was, since you're in the insane asylum, I found everyone was just like, kind of way too, at least some of like the random characters were kind of way too balls to the wall crazy. I would like to see a lot more kind of subtle writing for them, so like you're kind of unsure if like this person is lost their marbles or if they're kind of just like stuck in here with other people, and then have them kind of just like snap or trigger, and then all of a sudden now they're an enemy, even though you like weren't too sure about them. I would have liked that to kind of been thrown in a little bit. That's what I meant. Like everyone's there, like, yep, these guys are all just completely bonkers, and it kind of after a while you're like, yep, more bonker people. Yep, okay, yep, they're bonkers.
Yeah, welcome, House Kid. We are talking Outlast 1. So what we do here is after people have submitted a couple games for me to play through, and I've played through them, we come and we break them down and we look at them from a design and development standpoint, talk about the goods and the bads, and all of these reviews of games from a developer standpoint that we've done are all available. Eventually, they'll be available on our wiki. Eventually.
When that eventually gets built.
When we have a wiki, you can find them there.
I can throw that up like right after this if you guys want. I have the server ready for it now.
I'm not gonna say no. Just throw it up, give me the deets, and I'll start putting data in there. So world building. And again, with the world building, I'm probably in the Actually, I might even give it a bad.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I have a very different opinion on the world building. I thought it was one of the stronger points of the game.
I really liked the hospital setting they built. I found it pretty believable for the stuff that was going on. And even
That's
just
fair.
like the set and room design and just kind of the actual atmosphere that they built around it. I really did feel like, I'm in a dark, creepy mental hospital. This is the last place I actually want.
That's fair. That's fair. I did feel like I was actually in the place that they were building. But the actual lore of the world and everything, I felt, is not just the story, but the actual, I don't know, I was in a game by the end of it. It didn't impress me.
It does get a bit kind of weird at the end there, so it's does kind of a big jump. And like you don't know really what's going on, and it's supposed to be kind of like a neat twist or reveal to what the big bad was. But I would have liked the underground lab to kind of just be like expanded on a little bit, maybe kind of like build it up way more to what's kind of going on, and have it be something that like you would kind of remember more about, of like this whole scary testing facility they had, rather than just like stumbling into it.
That's a fair view. I can come up to an okay for sure. The biggest thing that's right on, just sort of right in my face about it is so many cool things going on that they just never got into. We had so many discussion points about what was actually happening at the end, and maybe that's what they wanted, but I would have loved some more, at least a little bit more on what the wall rider actually was, things like that. Like even after the DLC, I felt like they just sort of left out one of the most interesting story arcs that they had. It could have built a lot of background.
I don't disagree, but I also kind of like that.
Okay.
Like I feel like that being left to your imagination can be a lot more effective than them trying to put together a story and saying, "Hey, here's what's happened." Some people aren't going to be satisfied with that. I like it being left to your imagination, because just like when you're reading a book versus watching a movie, the book's always going to be better because it's perfect in your head and it's not just what somebody else has put in front of you.
Yeah, you don't end up with Stephen King's It.
Yeah.
Because that's a beautiful example of exactly what you're talking about. Beautiful story, beautiful writing, beautiful world building, great characters, world's worst ending. Yeah, all this crazy, scary stuff. Yeah, turns out, giant alien spider. What? I mean, I get it. Stephen King has written a lot of books. It gets hard to write endings, but come on, try harder than that.
Well, just I got to get this out of my system. He writes the same book so many times. The same book.
Sometimes with different names.
Yep.
Sometimes.
I think
sometimes not even with different names.
I think Family Guy did it really, really well with their Stephen King joke. I don't know if you ever saw that one, but he's sitting in there talking to his publisher, and the publisher's like, "So, what's your next book about?" And he goes, "Lamp Monster." Ooh. Just grabs the lamp, and then his publisher's like, "When can I have it by?"
We got to publish another 37 books this year, man. Come on.
World building, I guess. Are we at okay, or are we still contemplating? Are you guys really wanting good, or?
I think I'm okay with okay. I think it was okay. I definitely didn't feel bad, because I can think of a lot of games that have bad world building, and I feel like if this game actually had, if it was on the lower end, you would feel it a lot more. It's just one of those genres that depends so heavily on it that it's kind of under more of a scrutiny of a lens, because you're looking at it so much because it needs it. But I think it was okay. I think they hit their mark. Not hit their mark, but they had a goal in mind that you could see. They didn't quite hit it, but at least they got kind of close.
They did really well with their budget. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I think if they would have tried to spend more money on it and less money in other areas, they would have made a worse game. I think I'm happy with what they've done, but yeah, it's still not enough for a good. It wasn't special. It wasn't standout-ish, but it got the job done.
Yeah, I definitely do not think it deserves a bad, though. I would say it's on the upper end of okay.
Somebody else want to fill that one in then? There's the doc if anybody wants to follow along, by the way. Should be public viewable.
I should probably open that.
Yeah, you probably should. Oh, shitty. 419. Wait, that's not shitty. Yes.
Overall competent, shall we say?
Yeah.
Yep.
Overall competent, good use of player imagination in order to have a how would we describe it? A good feeling world built in the imagination. In order to have a fulfilling world built inside the player's imagination, inside the player's mind.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if I'm breaking it down, they did a good job of building the hospital.
And leading you towards things that are outside the hospital without actually touching things that are outside the hospital.
Yeah, but then the rest of the world itself is just a great big black box. Nothing really got touched in the really good world building in the same sort of genre and setting. I would look to RE7. They went a lot more outside into. They had a bigger budget. Much bigger budget.
Significantly.
much bigger budget, but they did world building on a grander scale really, really well while still keeping you basically in a shack the whole game.
Yeah. And then they did a fantastic job.
Yeah. Performance, good.
Yeah. Game ran really well.
Runs well. There's no major bugs. I mean, I'm playing it well after, but runs well, no major bugs. It's It's basically it. I was crushing it. I've got pretty good hardware, but I was still like, 4K, full frames, go.
If anybody who played it around release, do you remember if there were any major performance issues?
You know what?
I don't remember.
Board.
I don't
that
have
there
any
were
issues
any.
with it.
Board, you are my performance gauge. Because you have the worst computer of anyone I know. How did it run?
Ouch.
That's great.
While Board is responding to that and reeling perhaps from the comment about his PC, let's talk about the style a little bit.
Sure. It ran smooth enough to play it. That sounds like it runs really well then.
Yep.
Because he's on a little APU laptop. If it
Those
can run,
APUs are better than you give them credit.
well, if it can run on an APU laptop with like 512 megs of VRAM, then it'll run on pretty much anything.
Run on a potato. Well, and it was designed to run on a 360, I believe, which also had 512 megs of VRAM.
Wild times. They almost only had 256. It was Gears of
Yep.
War that made them go up to 512, which is bonkers. That can't imagine if that was a limitation.
We would have been stuck on very ugly games for a very long time.
Instead, we ended up with a Lost Odyssey launch title, and oh my god.
That was a very pretty game.
On a good news note, I've got my capture card installed.
Hooray. Suppose I should bring you out that PS3, eh?
Indeed. Good news added. So yeah, we've got good news working on the bot as well, everyone. That's good news. So if you ever want to add news, go ahead and say !add news, throw some good news in the bot. It'll last all day. !news will give you some random news from the bot. Here are some good things that are happening to people in the community.
And currently it is cleared at the end of every stream. I'm not entirely sure if I want to keep it that way, but I am planning on adding the ability to add news at any time of day, and then it just gets cleared after the show. Anyway, back to visual style. I would say it was consistent, not particularly like overly stylized. Like another game of the same era, Amnesia, I would say had a much more I don't want to say in your face, but a much more present graphical style. That
This one feels like they were just going for realistic.
yeah, except it just kind of went meh.
I mean, we've said this many times before. Realistic isn't even really a style.
I'd say it was fine.
Like a super realistic sim game that's all realism under style would probably get an okay, even if it was super realistic and well done. That's not very stylish. We're in a digital medium, and sure, that's not what you were going for. You pulled off what you were going for. You can have a fucking stylish game.
Yeah.
I'd argue that they were going for like a dark and gritty kind of style, especially with like the night vision camera. Everything kind of green. They're making sure to keep all those colors like very minimal, so that like it looks fine in night vision. Nothing will look kind of strange in that. I thought that was fine. I kind of like it was kind of neat and spooky going around. Everything was just in that kind of green, kind of artifacty look.
I'm with
Trying
you.
to just
I'm with you on that.
I think they definitely had some style on that. It wasn't just like let's make it look realistic. I think they're like let's make it dark. Let's keep things all kind of mono kind of color. Nothing too bright and vibrant. Nothing kind of no happy colors. Everything's just kind of dark, depressing. It's not supposed to be in place. And then make sure it looks presentable in the night vision mode as well, but still looks dark and depressing.
It was in the era of every game just being brown. Like that was the style of the time. Everything is brown.
This is true. Here's our Metal Gear Solid 3 comes to mind immediately.
Just literally everything is brown.
And then there's no clear defined edges to the characters, so it's really just this like blob of brown and green sort of shifting on the screen. And if you're not really good with colors, then the game is almost unplayable. I watched Partube play it, one of my favorite streamers. I'm always over there. And he has colorblind issues. And while he was playing the game, there's like an enemy standing in front of him, punching him. And we're all standing there going, why are you letting him hit you? And he's like, where is he? It was that bad.
Literally couldn't tell that he was there. And that will be going under accessibility issues.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I would say as far as style goes, gritty, trying to be realistic with minimal hardware.
It did a good job for its hardware. I will say that.
Yeah, I didn't like it personally. Just it's not the sort of thing that appeals to me. I think they did an okay job at bringing it across.
Yeah.
I think it could have been a lot more so.
Oh, yeah, no, it's definitely only an okay. Not a good. I'm with you on the okay, 100%. But it's definitely not a bad either.
Yeah.
Everything that Pseudo said is 100% correct still. All of that means it can't be a bad.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about animation then. I would say there wasn't a lot of it.
Yeah, not really.
That vault, though, you move. That's about it. The character animation was okay, but it is pretty dated. So it's hard to kind of judge it based on nowadays kind of bench.
Like there's nothing really jumpy or staggered, or there's no real bad animations to it. Nothing was offensive. Nothing pulls you out of the game. Nothing makes you stop and go, whoa, that was bad, and like, you know, affect your experience with the game. But there's nothing impressive about it.
The way that the enemies moved, I did find somewhat brought me out of the game.
I've found I wasn't even looking at them most of the time. Yeah, they're a little stick in the ass in their movement. I do remember
very
that.
Like stumpy, kind of stumping around.
Yeah, there's none of that back motion. Like literally, like somebody stuck a straight stick up there and it can't move. But I mean, for the budget and everything, it wasn't terrible. I've seen worse. Like you know,
cannot read the small font. Let's see if we can.
Oh, right.
Zoom this in a little bit. Deus, can you just zoom in on that viewport?
Still a little small.
Perhaps continue zooming.
I'm trying. There we go. That better?
Yeah. Okay, so animation wasn't a lot of it. Kind of stiff. Anybody think it isn't an okay?
I'd say it's okay.
It's okay. You can also just click on that link board if you like, and then have the sheet itself, and you can see us type in real time.
I need to fix that. At undefined. Audio. Let's talk about some audio.
Now here's where I think it's going to start getting a little better for it, because the game is played by sound, pretty much. And I mean, it's not modern day pinpoint accuracy locationing. I realize the game is a little dated. And for its era, it did it well. I was happy with it.
Yeah, I would say, again, competent. The sound effect quality, I didn't play enough of the game locally to really get a good listen to it. But when I was listening to it on stream, it was fine.
Fine. That's it though.
Yeah, it was okay. I didn't
it's
have
hard
any
for
big
me to
problems
judge.
with it.
I think it was okay. It's harder for me to fully grasp it. It's a bit different if you're just watching it versus playing it with like headphones on and experiencing it fully. But I remember it just being okay. I remember it really kind of freaking me out. I know Alien Isolation was a game that the audio like terrified me, and it sounded crisp and clean, and you can hear that damn alien crawling around, and you hear those damn robots walking around. And that's the game I kind of judge this to a lot because it's kind of the same kind of avenue. You're just running around
Yeah.
trying not to get like messed up by everything that just wants you dead. And I'd say it's okay. I'd say it didn't take away from the experience, but I'm not too sure how much it really added to it to as much as it could.
Hey, Ancaria.
Hey, Ancaria, welcome. You've been working on sound effects all day, have you? Well, have you played Outlast? What did you think of Outlast's sound effects? Well, while I wait for Ancaria's response, I can respond to you guys by saying, I mean, I can't argue. I can't really think of a single point I can come up and be like, no, it should be good because of this. So I'm fine with an okay. I did just take a dab. Probably just got me excited. Like, yeah, it's great.
I've been checking Doom Eternal and Mortal Kombat 10 for today. Oh man, I'm so excited for Doom Eternal. I took some time off to get to play it when it launches.
I took some
Have you
time
guys
off as well.
seen the multiplayer mode they're adding to it?
Yep.
Like the 2v1?
Literally no interest. Just don't care.
Be interesting to. I just want to try it. It seems it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be great, but at least it's something new. They've also added the whole invading thing, which is interesting as well. It's like I guess they're at least throwing new things in.
Invading? Is it like Dark Souls invading?
Yeah, you turn into a demon and you just go and kill their guy.
It's one of the things that makes me actually fear for the game, if I'm honest. Doom 2016 was just so laser focused on what it wanted to do that it really just like the purity of that design spoke to me. And now they're trying to do a whole bunch of other stuff with it as well, and I'm kind of like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
They had to do something new. I mean, it's still built off that game, so a lot of stuff is there.
Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
if they did and they released it, everyone would say, "Well, you just released the same game again for $80," or "Why isn't this a DLC?" And
yeah,
it's going to be an improvement, but they need
shut
new
up.
features.
You're wrong.
I mean, they have to sell the game.
No, they don't. Just sell it to me. It'll be fine. I'll buy like 8 copies.
They really did have a good formula. If you changed up the weapons, changed up the enemies, gave me a full game's worth of content, I'd be happy. I think they... It's like Diablo 2 to Diablo 3. There aren't a lot of changes. There are only little tiny changes between the launch Diablo 3, that was terrible, and Diablo 2, one of the greatest games of all time. They made teeny tiny changes. But when you make those teeny tiny changes, you make ripple effects across the whole game. And it changes the balance of everything. And that affects, literally from greatest game ever to worst game ever. So I mean,
worst game ever is a bit strong now. Come on. It was bad. It was not a good game, but it's not the worst game ever.
it was so bad at launch. The first chapter was good. Okay, fair enough. The first chapter was good. As soon as you beat... I guess not first chapter. The first difficulty was good. Normal was pretty good. As soon as you got through that at, like, launch...
things definitely started going downhill.
Like you wrecked Diablo. Like, I didn't. We just destroyed him. We had to try a little bit, but we shredded him. You know, nearly skip a mechanic, and then you run up and get one shot by the first bug. Like, what? Who did your scaling, and what were you thinking?
But now you got to go look on the auction house to see if you can get more items.
Yep.
Real
So that's
money
why
auction house.
that's why I started running bots. I started 3 VMs. I set up bots in all of them, and I just went until I made my money back, and they banned my bots. Checked out. Been just doing minor work. Sound effects attached for my emotes on Twitch for subscribers to use everything from. Oh God. Back. You've just been. Were you making the sound effects, or were you just sifting through online reservoirs of sound effects?
It sounds like he was doing Foley work to me.
Yeah, checked online game one. He was looking for them. I used to do support for a Foley lab. They had analog Foley labs, and they also had Pro Tools Foley labs. And
Foley work is fun.
They had a 16-channel analog recording studio. That thing was amazing. Oh, is that you, Suda?
Nope, I'm on push to talk.
Huh?
Oh, sirens?
Yeah.
You said I was quiet, so I turned up my mic, and now it's picking up all the sirens.
Even without the multiplayer / invasion, they did changes to mechanics and new enemy types, bringing back old enemy types, new areas, glory kill animations, and the whole enemy layer breakdown. I feel like that in itself is enough to change to say it's a new game. I absolutely agree with you. I'm just saying, I was actually saying I hope they didn't change too much.
No, they had 4 years, which is quite a long time because they built Doom 2016 in 4 years.
Yep.
So I'm assuming they did a really solid remake of it, and like the critics, like, a lot of their biggest complaints for that game was just multiplayer. So I guess they're like, okay, well, we'll at least change that a bit, because I'm sure if they didn't change it at all, a lot of people would just go right back to the thing and being like, all right, you guys messed it up again. And at least they try to add something new, like some uniqueness to it, because that's what it was for a long time. It was like, hey, let's drive this innovation in the multiplayer space and try to do something.
That's fair. If people were complaining about that, then yeah, I agree with trying to address it. The single player will not have any invasion. You have to play in a specific mode to get the invasions. You know? Anybody?
I mean, it's probably something that's just like a toggle. Like, I doubt they're going to force you to do it. But it's like either way, like I'm sure that it was a single player experience first. From what I heard from the creative director talking about it, he said that it is definitely like a single player, like their single player experience first is what they focused on, and they tried to bring that into the multiplayer experience a bit. So they're trying to make it that way, it's the same kind of pace the game is and all that stuff like that.
I believe it's an off toggle if you want to allow people to. That's cool.
Yeah, that's getting turned off in my game, and I'm just gonna power.
As long as they have the option for it, then it's a great ad. Don't change any of the core stuff, and just But I will caveat it, as we're getting off topic, like Board said, we will jump off topic with a quick caveat of me saying I have absolute faith in idsoft. Even if they do make changes, it might scare me, but I believe they will pull it off because they're id.
Yep. Like I said, I'm not buying the game.
Yeah, no, I'm picking it up the day.
I'm gonna buy it a bunch of times, but it's something that is concerning.
Yeah,
it's concerning that they're trying to add more to a game that was all about pure, unadulterated focus on one game style.
You don't even have to reload in the game. That's how focused it is. Just shoot until they're dead.
It's wonderful.
Don't stop moving,
okay, anyway.
And you won't die. Voice acting.
It was fine. I thought that the characters were well acted. I didn't think that there was There were some issues with the writing for particular characters, but
Yeah,
I
I was
thought
just gonna
that
say.
the delivery was fine.
I was gonna say, I think that unfortunately, I think they were held back by the writing quite a bit. I don't know if the voice actors, had enough to work with to kind of. There's only so much you can do with the writing that it had. But I mean,
That's fair.
if they could have had someone who writes people like had dialogue such for like Joker-esque kind of crazy people, then I'm sure we could like the voice actors could have went super crazy with it and just give it a really kind of eerie, uncanny valley, just chills down your spine kind of delivery of that writing.
I think it's an okay. Like even the dialogue they have, it could have been better. Not
I think
with the same dialogue, the acting could have been better.
yeah, I think it's competent. I don't think it took away from the experience too much, but I'm not sure if it really was like a main focus point from it. It was like, yeah, this is going on. It's not really disconnecting me, and I'm not noticing it being like, oh my god, like shut up, like what is this like cutting, and what is this like,
Yep.
artifacting in this noise, or like why are you just like talking in a monotone voice, like hello, I'm going to scare you.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I've heard much worse. At least it gets it across. There was never a point where I'm playing it going, oh, that's bad. Like Two Worlds. Have you ever tried to play Two Worlds?
Yes. Oh my god.
I made it like
Two Worlds 2?
I made it like
They made a sequel.
halfway. Was it Two Worlds 2 was the worst one?
Was it Four Worlds?
They're both terrible. Like
I tried to play one of them, and the opening sequence of talking back and forth with the characters was so long and so bad that I turned the game off before I ever got to control my character.
That is damning.
I really wanted to try it, and like halfway through the opening sequence, I was just like, I can't. I just can't. I can't. I just can't. I just turned it off. I burned the game. It was a trial thing. It failed. We'll give it an okay. And music score. Played it for 10 minutes, have not gone back. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
I think you can beat it in 10 minutes too, which is hilarious. You can if I remember correctly, it's a little off topic, but I'll be quick. If I remember correctly, like the final boss that you need to kill is in one of the opening towns or close enough to it. And what you can do is you can like aggro him or kite him over to that town, and it triggers the town, and the town will just kill him for you. But that might be in Two Worlds too. But in one of them, I know you can do that. You can kite the final boss to this town right out of the gate at level 1, and they'll just kill it for you.
Done. Success.
Game plus. I don't really remember much about the music. There isn't really much music. It's actually, you know what? There's no music until they chase you. And that's when the music kicks in. So the music was used a lot to judge my state and what's happening and what I should be doing. And it was fucking intense. And it did get my heart pumping every time something was chasing me. And otherwise, they were utilizing the heartbeat control techniques where you sync the pace of the music to a natural heartbeat rhythm, and you can slowly increase it to get their heart beating and force a reaction. So I'm going to call it good.
Yeah, I actually would agree with that. I think the music itself is forgettable, but the way that it was used was excellent.
I could agree with that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now we're on to the bigger thing, gameplay for game name. Let me just edit that.
Gameplay for game name? Oh, there's another one there. Thank you. So accessibility? I don't
Not
remember it having much. It has subtitles.
I remember you were looking through the menus and basically all it had was subtitles. It didn't have volume sliders. It didn't have any sort of colorblind friendliness. It didn't have I don't think it had like
It has no colorblind
control
friendly
design.
options, but it has no colorblind friendly options because it is naturally colorblind friendly due to the nature of it being a monochrome game most of the time.
due to the fact that the game is literally just green.
Yeah, like they designed it
No.
that way because you're going to be looking through that camera. So I'm going to say there was no need for that option and they never put it in because of that. A software developer isn't going to do work he doesn't need to do.
Nope, I actually have to get up to fix that reality.
Uh-oh. We are not small people. I'm gonna say it's an okay for that reason.
I don't know. I think it's harder for us to say because we're not
here. We're talking about video games.
colorblind, so it's hard for us to see. But there are certain people who can't see certain colors, and like if you can't see green, then like night vision mode might be kind of weird. I'm not too sure how that would work for someone like that.
You
As
can
well as it'd be nice to have some kind of options. I don't remember seeing any kind of focus to accessibility in there, and I didn't want us to give them. I don't know if it's something they inherently designed like Outer Worlds did to make everything colorblind friendly. It may have just been like kind of a side effect, but I don't remember the menu too much either. There might have been some parts of it that weren't. I'm not sure if I want to just say, "Yep, it's colorblind friendly to the viewers and people," but there
Well,
definitely isn't an indication about it.
let's think about it this way. It doesn't have separate volume sliders and it doesn't have an FOV slider. Like those are the bare minimum.
Yeah,
Is
I
it
don't
really
think it has.
accessibility?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
People will get
FOVs
motion sickness.
makes me nauseous.
Okay.
Yeah, people need it for motion sickness.
Okay. Fair enough. Bad.
Plus, people with hearing problems, if they don't have separate volume sliders, what are you going to be able to? How can you hear the important bits of the game?
The game was just unfortunately made in that kind of time where they weren't too focused on it, and unfortunately, it kind of with short, like smaller budget games, it's not something they can always afford.
My oh my.
Kara's
Welcome,
here.
CarTube and viewers. We are analyzing Outlast right now. CarTube, have you actually played Outlast? We were just talking about you. And then you jumped in. And now I have to wonder, have you actually played it? You haven't. Okay. Because the game has absolutely no accessibility options toward color blindness, but it's also basically a monochrome game because you're looking through a night vision camera a lot of the time. I was just wondering if you had played it to get your take on that. But we gave it a bad anyway because it has no FOV options. It has no volume sliders.
There's really no accounting for accessibility in the game in the slightest.
I don't remember any bugs. I didn't hit any. Mine's a much later version.
Anybody at launch who played Outlast? Maybe
Um,
you remember some bugs that we didn't run into.
Nothing. I don't remember anything like game breaking. I don't remember getting frustrated at all. There may have been the odd thing where like I remember I had issues getting over certain obstacles at first. It wasn't the most responsive, but that also could have just been me at the time, so it's hard to say. But other than that, the game didn't crash for me. I don't remember any of those issues. I think it overall ran smoothly. I don't think there was any like. I don't think I bugged out the AI too much. There was no like all of a sudden the dude just stops and like walks away like some of the more recent games have had. So I think overall it was a decently polished product.
I'm with you. I don't think there's a lot of room for bugs with a lack of a combat system and everything, but that's that doesn't mean that they shouldn't get the credit for not having any bugs in the product.
Yeah, at the end of the day, there were next to no bugs in it. Seems good.
Fill that one in. I'm gonna throw up an okay right away on the mechanics. I have a feeling
Because there
Pseudo
weren't
will
any.
agree with. There were some, like the locker hiding mechanics and the hiding under the beds and whatnot. I mean, they were implemented decently. They were they did their thing. The hiding under the beds was kind of janky because he's looking under the bed beside you and like staring right at you, but doesn't see you because you're not under the bed he's looking under.
If you notice, they will always look at the bed that you're not under, and they will always look at the locker you're not in. If you at least get in the room before they do, and like, it was scary the first time, and then after then it got really old. Whereas opposed to like Alien Isolation, it will still just search every goddamn locker. It will find you. And I played Outlast before playing that game, and it was just like a whole new world of like, oh fuck, I'm not safe. Because once you learn that in Outlast, you're like, oh, we're in here getting the thing, oh, I'm safe.
It'll be
and
fine.
And then I'm playing Isolation, and it just runs in, opens one locker, I'm like, oh, I'm good. Turns around, runs over to my locker, I'm like, oh, what the fuck? No. Nowhere is safe. I may just try to get you to play the game because it's good, but frustrating.
We can take a look at it. But yeah, I'm with you. Like, it's an interesting mechanic, but you pretty quickly realize as long as they don't see you hide, they will never find you. Period. They'll just check and leave. You just watch, wait, run, hide, wait. And as soon as you get to a new area, you're kind of scared at the beginning, and then you're like, there's my locker.
Okay, I'm good.
Yeah. Like, okay, we're safe now. Let's just go explore this place now.
Like, there's things they definitely could have added. Like, it would have been nice if like your camera had a flash or something. If they added that, you can kind of just like maybe do something that's slightly offensive, like slight stun them or something. Because there's parts of the game where like if you turn the corner and they're there, you're just kind of dead. So it would have been nice to have at least a little bit of control of the situation and feel like you can kind of at least outplay them rather than just have them just be like, oh, look, it's that guy who's going to rip my head off and I'm not that close to a locker, so like shit. Or just as
have fun in Caria.
Yeah, sounds good. Enjoy your lurk in Caria.
Yeah, I agree, Pseudo. I think that like what was there was pretty good, but like the flash idea that you just brought up would have been brilliant. Like, it's just a way to bring so much more interactivity to the game.
Yeah, all of a sudden you can do something other than die.
Yeah, or like have it like they could work it in so it's not spam. Like maybe like takes up a bunch of the battery to do it, or something like that. So it's not something you can just like do all the time, or maybe it just consumes like a battery. Like maybe it modifies the camera and like this. They could have worked it and balanced it in some way that like, because it gets kind of frustrating near the end where like you're trying to do this thing and you just, I guess they're going for the helpless feeling, but it just gets kind of frustrating at the point of like you kind of just have to get lucky at sometimes. Like, oh, I turned the corner and oh, he's there and now he's coming and I'm just gonna have to kind of just wait and die and then do it again.
I agree. They were going for the helpless feeling. However, I still feel helpless in Resident Evil 2 when Nemesis is chasing me, or whatever Mr. X is chasing me. Because there's not a lot I can do to him. I still have abilities. There's things I can do. They won't stop
You
him.
can, in theory, shoot him in the head enough that he stops chasing you for a sec.
Yeah. There are options still. You can,
but he's still gonna chase you.
Yeah. So I think there's grounds somewhere between those two. Where without a weapon you can still have something. Maybe even just like different pieces in hallways that you can knock over to create a little bit more gap.
Or like a distraction thing you can use. Like maybe you can get some item that you can like
firecrackers
throw
or something
to make noise, or nails, or like
just
stones. Anything.
Yeah, throw a rock at glass. You can break the glass panel once. You can use it one time to make a distraction and send them over there. After that, the glass is broken. The risk-reward sort of thing. Now we're getting into, if you're good with it and use it properly, it's a great distraction. But after you've used it. Now you gotta do it the long way. Yeah, I think there was room for creativity that they didn't use. It controlled well though.
I can't say I remember much of the control, which is
Uh,
probably a good thing.
yeah,
Probably like everything functioned as I expected it to.
pretty much. Yeah, it's WASD, spacebar to vault. As long as you hit it in a reasonable gap of the object, or if you're holding it as you run up to the object, it kept a very smooth transition over everything. I didn't slow down, but yeah, I liked the control. I never felt like I was fighting it. I just kind of felt like it was what I wanted to do.
Which is a good sign.
Yeah, that's what you want from control. Like Penumbra or Amnesia. I don't know those ones. The first thing that comes to mind when I think bad control is The Last Guardian.
I love the concept of The Last Guardian. I love the idea of The Last Guardian. Actual implementation, pretty terrible.
Pookie tried to play it and played it for a little while. She almost finished it, I guess. Got right to pretty much the very end. And then one day I came home and she tells me, I finally understand the saying pain in the neck. Because she was so frustrated with trying to get the goddamn animal to do what she wanted it to do that she actually had a sore neck and had to stop playing.
Oh dear.
So
RNG.
Here's the thing. I think for the first time ever, RNG is going to be bad for not being enough of it.
Yeah, they definitely should have added, like, when he comes into the room, he randomly chooses a locker. Would have been kind of nice. Or some sort of, like, it'd be annoying at the time, but at least would add to, like, the horror sense of, like, every time he comes in, you're not guaranteed to be safe.
Yeah, I feel like it would be, weighted against the locker that you're in, but at least give
Yeah,
him
yeah.
a chance to come to the locker.
Yeah, I'd be happy with totally random. You can look out the locker. You can see him moving around the room. Just maybe if you're really concerned with player escapability, take some consideration, but you can take a hit from most people. So just plan your design this way. If it's a character that you really want them to be able to escape and they can only take one hit, give them an alternate exit so you can watch. If he's coming your way, get out before he's too close and get the fuck away.
Or you just bash him in the face with the door of the locker and then you run.
Yeah, that'd be a great mechanic. Yeah. If they try to come up to your locker, have a way to just like kick the locker door and poof, and give them a little knockback and stun and enough space for you to get out if you're quick. That's a great mechanic. That would be a beautiful addition to the game.
That would have been way better. So yeah, I agree. There's not enough RNG.
Wow. I'm so used to saying good for low RNG that it just naturally happened. Now I'm rage.
Welcome to my world, friend.
There was not enough RNG. When you hide, you always know you are safe. This breaks intensity. So it's an okay.
Yeah, it was solidly okay.
For an
that's
indie
good.
studio, first title of that series,
And like
it's not bad.
The the control and the fact that the game worked well on launch, I would say are major pluses to this game. Obviously, the storyline and the use of music were also stand out.
And
But
those,
overall, I would say for the people who are interested in this style of game, I would recommend it.
yep,
But for people who are not already interested in this style of game, I would say probably don't need to check it out.
yeah, I'm with you. Though I will add that while I'm not a huge fan of this style, like I like some of the great RE2 and what or REs whatnot, but I didn't play the whole series. Not a massive fan. I didn't play a lot of other types of this game. I did like this one as it took away your choice because I found in like an RE a lot of the time I'm thinking, do I want to fight this thing? Am I supposed to fight this thing? I don't know what's happening. I don't know any of the map. Do I want to waste all the ammo on it? The removal of choice and just being like, this is going to kill me and I need to run and find something. And I just knew what I had to do all the time was very nice. I did enjoy that.
Yeah.
One thing I will say that should have already said. Remember the first scripted scene getting thrown over the railing into kind of?
Vaguely.
Is that before you control the main character? Like a little prologue?
No, I think it's after. I think it's after you come in and you see like your first dead guy and you're like, "Oh my God, what the heck is going on?" And then you come back out to overviewing like the foyer area, looking over top of it, and then you get tossed down off the upper thing.
Interesting. Anyway,
You see Chris Walker run across into a room before that. You can actually run up to him and he will ignore you and run into the room.
yeah.
Huh.
Not programmed to kill you yet. But yeah, all in all,
Solidly okay.
solidly okay game. I didn't mind my playthrough. It didn't make me want to go back and play it again, but even as not a huge fan of the genre, I didn't mind the playthrough. Though I did have some people playing alongside me, basically, which was nice. Thanks, chat. You guys made it a lot more fun. There we
Well,
go.
time to spin up another review template
Middle Earth.
for Middle Earth, Shadow of War. It was Shadow of War, right?
Yes. There we go. Got all three of them this time. I'm on the ball. um, Mine was just, oh, right, yeah, it's a new form. Good call. Good call, sir. You go ahead and set that. So, who in chat has played Shadow of War? That's going to be my first question. Just throw out shouts if you've actually played it. We'd love to hear your opinion as we go. They expect the player not to run that far. Yeah, and that's fair. Like I said, they probably learned a lot making that game. One of their first titles. At undefined.
Yeah, I'll fix that one day.
I know. I was just rubbing it in a little bit because I know it bugs you.
I did not play Shadow of War, but I did play a bit of Shadow of Mordor,
Mm-hmm.
and was not even remotely a fan.
Played like the first 20 minutes of it, maybe. That's enough to definitely participate and let us know what you thought. 20 minutes is a feel for the game. The rest of it is basically just a lot more of that first 20 minutes.
You're not wrong.
The combat doesn't change. You're still fighting the whole time. So, I mean, you could say the same thing about Dark Souls. Play the first 20 minutes of it. You'll be doing the same thing that you're doing in those first 20 minutes for the rest of the game. Saying that I did love the game from what I had played and from what I had saw from researching it before playing it. Yeah, fair enough. So how do you want to score it on world building? Because it didn't try to world build. It just bought a world building IP.
Yeah, I mean, they used it okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they could have done a lot worse with it. It wasn't fantastic. I didn't feel like it really did, Lord of the Rings justice, because that's a very, very, very vast IP repository. You can do a lot with that. Just a lot of resources they can pull, but they did okay. I didn't feel like insulted playing it as a Lord of the Rings fan. I'm kind of like, oh, neat. There's, Gollum at least, and some places I recognize, and some names and stuff, but it wasn't like anything that really kind of stood out to me. A lot of the scenes are like just the same.
There was some stuff in it that really felt shoehorned and like kind of insulting to the IP,
Like,
specifically Gollum. The fact that he's in the game bothered me. Like, just why he doesn't need to be in the game. You could have done something new and cool.
there is no ring for him to follow.
Yeah, exactly.
The ring's still there. Gollum's just kind of hanging out, waiting for it because he's in those caves. I thought that part was okay at least. Like, they can't do too much new because it was like a fan service. They get kind of stuck in the fan service kind of thing where they are trying to sell to fans, not so much trying to sell this like game style. They're trying to sell this game style to these Lord of the Rings fans that are just going to buy it mostly because they love Lord of the Rings, and those people are the ones that are going to appreciate seeing Gollum. But it definitely was kind of shoehorned in there. He just kind of just show up and doesn't really stand on his own too well.
Yeah, you could take him out and here's the test: remove him and put in a stick figure. Does the story still make sense? Absolutely, it does. You can put anything you want there. It could be a little cart that leads you along to your destination, and it would still fit. So, yeah, he's not needed. They just went, we can put him here.
We have all this IP. We paid millions of dollars of it. Shovel it in there.
It's not coronavirus. I just smoke pot.
So yeah, for world building, I don't want to say bad. I don't think that they like ruined Lord of the Rings.
I'm with you.
I
I don't think it gets a good though. Like, they didn't
Yeah.
really build a world. They just bought a world, put their game in it.
Yeah, it's definitely just okay. They at least used it, and used it okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they used it okay.
They bought a world and used it okay. Gonna have to format wrap. Why
We
can I
should
never
really do
find
this
wrap?
on the template.
I absolutely
under
should.
Text wrapping.
I know. Storyline, okay. There's nothing special, but it wasn't terrible.
I don't remember any of it after having watched you play almost the entire game.
It's okay. It's definitely better than. I liked that the storyline for the second one better than the original. Mostly just because I'm a sucker for the ring wraiths, and they did touch a lot into the lore more than the first one did. I'm not sure if you played the epilogue or not. The epilogue, it's pretty interesting when you go through as a.
Here's my stance. The storyline is okay if you look at it as a storyline for the game. the characters were good because they built backstory for them, but that wasn't the storyline of the game. That was going into the backstory of the ring race and introducing them and what made them who they are and stuff like that. I liked that part, but that wasn't the storyline. The storyline of the game is, to summarize what happens, the orcs attack, the orcs win, the orcs get the Palantir from you, come back and get the Palantir back, you get your ring back, you conquer the world. That was the story.
If you play the epilogue, you'll see what happens with that. But I remember that there's quite a bit that happened there, at least like storyline wise. There's a bit of depth to it that we kind of glossed over, as to the point of it's more to like the writing of the interaction with the characters. At least I'm mostly just comparing to the first one, where like no one was memorable. You just play as a stereotypical like anime super god. Like, I can't die. Look at me go. I take over the whole world. At least in this one, you lose and you like struggle. At least there's at least some sort of conflict. The first one, you're like, I can't die. That thing is scary. Like, at least in this one, you're like, oh, I have an army of people to manage, and they would kind of like at least use that and utilize those into the story. So like those people weren't just completely random. It's like, oh, like Chopper, what the hell his name was. His whole thing was pretty. I think that was a good addition to how the story went by. I'm not sure how much of the side quest stuff he did too much. I can't remember if that's the main part of it or not. I think it is a main part where he ends up betraying you. I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah,
he's
I
kind
did
of
go back
utilized
play that part.
utilized the mechanics kind of against you, and a lot of stuff like the story, like it had at least some depth to it. It's not fantastic. It didn't make me feel anything. You're still just like super god going around like I can't die.
Like I said, it was okay because none of that is even really the story. That's after the game. Why not use your cool characters and cool story bits in the game?
I think Chopper's the guy that teaches you about the fight pits, and just like the first guy take over.
No, those were doing the side quests. That was all the side quest stuff.
That's I think some of them.
That's not just the epilogue. That was just side quest stuff that we haven't gone and done. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But some of it wasn't side quest. I think some of it you had to do.
Yeah, the first bits.
Because I think where he kills you. I think he betrays you and kills you and takes over the castle, and you have to take it back.
You don't have to do that. I didn't do that part until after I had finished the game and I came back to clean up side quests.
Damn. Then yeah, they definitely should have at least made that mandatory.
Yeah, no, the actual like main story quest of the game is what I just said. That was basically it. It was just the Palantir, and then go get the Palantir back, and then go conquer some castles. That was it. That's why I say it's okay.
Yeah, definitely just okay.
But I did like the characters, like I said. I liked the depth they went into on the ring race stories. It was almost there was a sad story with each character. I'm a sucker for a sad story. Same reason we like Dark Souls, right?
So I want to get your guys' opinion on Talion. Because I hate Talion.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
you saw
as a character, he's so lame.
You saw all my go lives, right? Like, it was always Talion was always Pinky in those situations. That was just kind of how I interpreted him.
Yeah, they kind of unfortunately wrote themselves into a bit of a pit in the first game, making him such a kind of just dry, wet rag of a personality. Of just, my family's dead, I'm angry, and it's like, all right, well, that was a little like, okay, we get it. It's like
that may have been enough for one game, but
yeah, it's like you should at least have something. The epilogue, it gets really good, but that's not the main thing, so that kind of sucks. They throw them for a loop there. And, I guess spoilers, since we're reviewing the game, it's a little bit of spoilers. If people don't know, like, basically, I'm not sure if you know what happens in the epilogue rage, but they go to fight Sauron, and they basically leave you to die, and they give I can't remember her name.
Talion dies. Thank you.
Kind of. I'm just gonna spoil it so everyone's listening to this. If it's on YouTube or whatever, just like skip forward. Or if you're in the chat, maybe just mute it for like 15 seconds. So basically, what happens is near the end, Talion gets conflicted about how far Celebrimbor wants to go, because he goes like really, really power hungry and gets really nuts. He's like actually fairly well done character. And
Yeah,
then
Celebrimbor gets a lot more depth after the game.
Yeah, and the game, like, it's weird. It wakes up after the game. So basically, he just takes the ring from you, and that was what's keeping you alive. And then your throat starts bleeding, and you drop down dead. But I think you just killed a ring wraith right before it, and you take the ring the ring wraith was using, and you put it on. So then he becomes like a corrupted version of what he was before, but he's still trying to grasp onto like the same kind of moral compass he had of what he was trying to do. And you basically play through that. You retake over the castles, but now it's like whole different abilities, whole different scheme. Talion is conflicted. His
It's not
face
all
is
different
basically
abilities.
all.
It's one added ability. I just played it.
Well, yeah, you get it's added abilities to each of your ability, and you get an additional skill tree that you can unlock and enhance the different effects, depending on what side quest missions you did to unlock those other ones. But basically, you go through it again. It's kind of tedious to kind of repeat all the castles again, but at least it's extra content. But at the end there,
Is it though?
it's tedious. But at the end,
I have a lot of bones to pick with this game.
Yeah, but at the end there, he ends up like you fight it as long as he can, and then he becomes one of the ring wraiths. So he becomes what he was fighting at the end there.
And it's cool. And you get the ability to revive things, so you can just kill the champion and then bring him back to life. Command him this way.
Yeah, necromancy.
Yeah. But all the best parts of the game aren't in the game.
Yeah, it's wild. It's weird.
That's my bone to pick with it. Here, now that you've gone through all the game with regular boring stuff, you can have the interesting stuff. Now go do it again. Oh, give it to me the first time I do it so I can enjoy it when I do it the first. I did like the combat, but it got a little repetitive going just
a little.
Left, 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 right, left, right, 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 left. Right, left. Right, left. And it just pops up on the screen. Do this now. Do this now. Do this now. It was basically a great big quick time event.
It's definitely a very casual experience.
It's a rhythm game.
Which is my same complaints about the whatever Arkham game that I played. Why I hated
Batman?
it too. Yeah. Didn't like that game at all. Sorry. I tried. Tried. Couldn't do it.
I found that the first Arkham game was pretty good because it wasn't focused around the combat. But anyway,
yeah. I'd still say good on characters. I liked the characters. Other than Talion,
overall, yes.
who was a wet rag, I liked the characters in the game, and I loved the orcs.
Yeah, the orcs are fantastic. My God, especially like it being a lot of them just being generated too. Like the stuff that went into them, and like I'm not sure if you play too much around with the shaming when you can drive them crazy, but that was my favorite thing to do. Was just like find a powerful orc and just drive him crazy, and then just recruit him, and then just have like bodyguards that can't even speak. So when anyone attacks me, these two big orcs jump out and just go start screaming like just insano. It's amazing.
Yes, it was fun turning them into maniacs. Video style, I thought it was good. It looked like Lord of the Rings.
There was a little bit of like, okay now, like Dragon Ball Z powering up of some of the ring abilities, etc.
Granted, I didn't play with a lot of ring abilities, and yeah, they were a little crazy, but I'm just like the looks of the armies with large numbers of things fighting each other, and the orc design.
Yeah, overall, I would say it was quite good. It felt like you were in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it was probably my favorite part of it.
Yeah, they definitely matched that very well, and even some of the creatures they threw in there too, they were done really well, and all the like wraith mode stuff like that was cool, and I'm trying to think what else there was, but I really wish that was an epilogue. The necromancy stuff was really cool, but that's not the end. It blows my mind why they didn't just end it early.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of like Fallout 4 and stuff like that, where you're following along. At least this one included the good story in the side quests and the ending. That one is like there's a good story happening, but you're kind of watching it from the outside the whole time. Like imagine Fallout 4 if you played as your dad and got to make all the choices that affected the planet.
Which one was Fallout 4?
You won't remember anyway, don't worry about it. It's all a homogeneous blur anyway. But it would have been much better game if you played as your father. That's the one where you spent the whole time chasing your father.
My favorite was still New Vegas of the 3D Fallouts.
Well, that's not even a question.
It's a vengeance story. Who the fuck shot me?
It's anything you want story. It's amazing. You just do whatever the hell you want.
That's true Fallout. A much, much, much better interpretation of Fallout. If you haven't played New Vegas, play that one. Yeah, style good. It felt like you were in Lord of the Rings. Period.
Animation, I would say, was
good.
For the most part quite good.
Yeah, very, very smooth. I loved the transitions. I loved the transitions from the swings to the kills, all the execution effects. It was so fluid.
Some of it was a little over smoothed. Like some of the tweens specifically, I can think of like lots of Talion just kind of sliding along the ground to go do a thing.
Yeah.
But it wasn't to the point of like offensiveness, and I know why they were doing it.
Me too. And it didn't break animation, which is the big thing for me. There was no like frame jumps where you're like, I'm over here, now I'm over here kind of thing, because I'm going from one state to another state. Everything was smoothed. Everything was transitioned. Any state to any state was pretty much accounted for, and you could jump to pretty much any state you wanted to at any given time. So I was super impressed by their ability to do it. Not easy.
Agreed.
I don't know on performance.
Anybody play this game when it came out, Pseudo?
I remember there being day one patches, but it does run fairly well, at least.
Well, we can do it on today's performance, but like I can only judge it from my hardware, and I'm not average.
Yeah, your machine is fairly high end.
Yeah, mine was up there. I don't remember people complaining about it for consoles either. I had a friend that he played a lot of it. I think he has he's fairly up there too, but it's a much older card. But
we can look at it this way. There are a lot of things on screen, and I had a lot of draw distance, and I did not really get any frame dips.
Oh, and that's a good point, is the configurable draw distance.
Yeah.
Like that lets you scale performance very, very well.
We're giving it a good again?
Yeah, I'd say so. It ran really well, and there was a lot of stuff going on. Like some of those combat near the end where there's like 4 or 5, orcs on you, but there's like 3 other checkpoints that also have like an army of orcs fighting at it. Like a lot of other things, I could see it really slowing down.
Yeah, I was surprised it didn't, to be honest.
I do remember though, we did have to activate virtual resolution scaling when you initially started the game. Before that, you were running at about 45 FPS.
That might have been just streaming though. I'm not sure if that's...
I'm also streaming in the background at the same time. And 45 FPS is still playable, considering it would have been 4K.
Is it though?
Yeah. It's not a super high-end Twitch shooter. You could easily play this game
300 FPS or give me death.
Well, you can go ahead and upgrade the hell out of your rig and try to get that full 1000 FPS out of Doom Eternal.
Oh, I'm gonna. As soon as the new AMD high-end card drops, I'm grabbing it.
Let me know. I'll help you liquid nitrogen cool it. I will. If you want to do it, I'll do it.
No, I am seriously contemplating liquid cooling it, but
we can videotape some liquid nitrogen cooling. I'm sure everyone would love to watch me pour liquid nitrogen over your processor.
Okay. Just do like the Linus
Put it
Tech Tips
all
thing. Just
over
run
the
the whole machine. Just run the whole machine in the tub. Just do
Yeah,
it.
just immersion cool it. It'll be fine.
Immersion cooling is pretty awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, performance was good. The inclusion
Doing
of variable resolution.
draw distance, variable resolution.
And I think its draw distance wasn't so much like a pure draw distance value as it was LODing very, very well.
Yeah.
But they did a fantastic job.
I don't remember the music in it. Like at all.
Me neither.
Yeah, it wasn't something that they would focus on. I think it did enough. I think the combat stuff was okay, but I don't think it was anything that really kind of drawn to you. But I also understand that it probably wasn't their focus, so I probably just put it okay. It definitely didn't hinder my experience in any way, or like it wasn't like playing sad music while I'm in an action scene, or playing action music while it's a sad scene.
Yep. Unmemorable and unoffensive.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to describe it.
I don't really remember any of it, but I didn't really care that it was playing at the time. Didn't ruin my experience, didn't make it any better. It was just there. It kind of fit. It was music.
I guess that puts us on sound effects.
They were okay. I would have liked some clunkier, heavier sounds from the sword.
My memory of the sound effects is they were actually fairly accurate.
They were at the right time.
I thought the quality of them was pretty good, especially like the kind of meteor bits of stabbing into people. It was kind of very satisfying to make those blockers and those punches and all that other stuff.
I don't know. My bar for combat sounds is kind of like Sekiro.
And that's hard to beat. Sekiro, Bloodborne. God, Bloodborne's combat is so good.
Oh, yeah. The visceral sound in Bloodborne is one of my favorite
Oh,
sounds in
so
all the video
satisfying.
games. When it happens, you're just like, yeah, you got fucked.
I'm trying to remember, like, I remember having a positive feeling about the sound effects while watching you play. But not anything particular about it. So I guess I'm good with an okay.
Yeah, I put okay.
That's kind of where I'm at. Like, if you guys have a different opinion of me and I'm like, I can't think of a single argument, to refute this, I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm good. They were almost a good, but a lack of heat. The board sounds vented that. That's the only way I can put it. I'm not a real great audio guy. I don't know how to describe it. I probably will never play Bloodborne until they port it to PC and I upgrade from APU laptop. Your APU laptop might be able to do it, but you'll probably never come to PC.
Yeah, it will never come to PC, and that's a shame. I would love to have it on PC, but the closest thing we have right now is the PS Now streaming, which is horrible for Bloodborne. If you can find a cheap PS4 somewhere used, or borrow one from one of your friends, I do highly recommend it. But it's not coming to PC.
PS5s are PS4 reverse compatible, so I suspect when PS5 drops, a lot of people are going to have PS4s on the market, and that's going to tank the price of them. Scoop a cheap PS4 a couple weeks after the PS5 drops, pick up Bloodborne for $20, worth it. We're talking, just a little bit more than a AAA game at that point, and you're getting a AAA game out of it. It's absolutely worth the money. Voice
Bloodborne
acting?
is a wonderful game.
Yeah, it's our favorite game.
Voice acting. There were a couple of characters, and I don't remember any of their names, but there were a couple of characters where the voice acting just seemed to not quite fit them.
But I love the orcs acting. All of them.
The orcs were
All
amazing.
of them. They're
I'm
like
just gonna give
Borderlands
this-
level good.
Yeah, I say this is good just for the orcs. Like the humans are passable, but there's only so much you can do. And like this game was about the orcs, and my god, I
Rage,
loved all of them.
my argument for good, Bard Bodyguard.
That's a pretty compelling argument.
He actually sings. He actually sings.
I probably don't have
is
it.
that link broken?
Anyone can view. How do you unpimp?
You don't at the moment. you gotta shut off RageBot at the moment, which is not great.
That one should work.
Interestingly, that was the link that I used, I believe.
Well, you have permission on the document. You linked straight to the document.
No, I did not. I did use it from the share menu, but whatever.
Weird. I can definitely see an anonymous jackal spying on us now.
Ooh.
So it's working.
Spooky.
Yeah, voice acting good. Were you going to make a counter argument?
I think there were enough things wrong with the human voice acting, and I wasn't sure if that was going to be entirely covered by how good the orc voice acting was. I can see the argument that yes, it is, and I don't necessarily disagree, but there was also some like offensively bad human voice acting.
I don't remember any offensively bad.
Yeah, I think it was just drowned out to me. I usually just didn't even listen to what
Yeah,
you were saying.
I may,
don't
yeah,
care. Shut
I
up.
may have just ignored them, but I don't ever remember being offended by it. It wasn't anything special. Talian's just, typical action star. Any action movie from the 80s, he would fit right in.
All the personality of a bucket of wallpaper paste.
Yeah, but I mean, he served his purpose. He's an Ubermensch character. What do you want? How hard it is to write an Ubermensch? You end up with a movie like Taken.
And
Which is
Taken
good
too.
for all the wrong reasons.
I hated that movie. Hated it with a passion.
Did you watch the next ones? They made a third one somehow. I don't know.
No, I didn't.
It is. First one was bearable to some degree for most people, and then even by the third one, people are like, "Okay, this is just getting." It's like it's Taken, but now he's Taken. It's like, wow. Ooh.
Oh no, the big thing with me is there's no character like
In it, there isn't.
yeah,
any.
but
He played
there's
his
no,
Liam Neeson character. It's the same thing in like.
there's
running
no
distance?
struggle. There's no challenge. There's no overcoming of an obstacle. It's just this guy runs around killing people for a while, and that's it.
We're very off topic, but would you have the same complaint about a John Wick film?
John Wick didn't have the same issues. He got hit, he got shot, he got injured in the fights.
But he never stopped.
I rewatched Taken because somebody else was watching it and counted it, and he got punched 5 times in that film.
Okay, that's fair.
Definitely Superman, but that's what he's like for most of his movies, and he made a lot. So they were definitely just doing that like fan service. There's some group of people out there that just ate that shit up for like 3 or 4 years. It was very weird.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of John Wick either. I'm not. for the same kind of reasons, but at least there was struggle. You know, it's like Die Hard, you know, he never stopped, but he was bloody and beat up by the end. He had to fight, he had to overcome things. He lost some fights through the course of the show. He was just invincible. He was just, oh, you tried to punch me. Next. You know, every fight scene is 10 seconds. Yeah. There's my take and rant.
See, I like films like specifically the John Wick films, not because there's supposed to be like character developing or because there's supposed to be like some great struggle or something. It's just it's vengeance porn.
It's
And
an action movie.
somebody kills his dog. Yeah, you're damn right. I'm gonna kill everybody involved with this.
It was okay.
But anyway, voice acting. It was good. Loved the orcs. Humans were meh.
There.
And get yourself a bodyguard.
That's important tips for enjoyment of game. Get yourself
Agree.
a bard bodyguard and call him constantly so that he just follows around singing. Accessibility?
I remember us looking at the options menu, but not what was in it.
I don't think there's a lot. There's no colorblind options. I remember that.
There was. I'm pretty sure there was stick inversion if you're playing on a controller.
Nope.
There wasn't double though. I remember
No,
that.
There was
stick
only
inversion.
one
There
access.
was
Yeah,
only one.
that's right. That's why I ended up playing keyboard and mouse. I was completely unable to play the game with a controller. I guess I should go into details on that. There is only one axis of inversion. On top of this, there was no color blind option. Hey Val, how you doing?
Hey, Val. There were volume sliders. There were subtitles. There was FOV slider, not really applicable for this game.
Yeah, it's third person. But the subtitles also aren't CC subtitles. They're only words.
Yeah, there's subtitles, not closed captions.
Yeah. But just the fact that I actually, like, if I bought this for a console, I would not have been able to play it.
Yeah.
I'm strange. My brain is completely backwards and flipped, and I have to play double inversion on any thumbstick that I use.
Damn.
Brutal, Val. Onto bugs. I don't think we really hit.
I didn't hit a single
Any?
bug the whole time.
I hit quite a few bugs when I played this game, unfortunately.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's hear your experience. And I know you're good at breaking
I-
things, so
I would get stuck on walls all the goddamn time. Wasn't like all the time it was unplayable, but it happened enough that like it's a remembrance thing of like I would get to some ledge and hang on it, and then I couldn't pull myself up and I couldn't drop. So I'd have to close the game and reopen it, and like, that was pretty bad. I'm sure they patched it out since then.
they must have patched it since then.
Yeah, they definitely
So we'll say it was probably bad at release, but we'll
I'd say it was okay because like that was the only like major one I ran into was just like sometimes you would get stuck in certain things.
How many
getting run
times
out,
did
but,
you have
like,
to turn the game off?
It would have been under 5 times total. So it happened a few
Bad.
times. I think it was just in like
You had to turn the
it
game
was
off
proven.
5 times in a playthrough due to bugs.
Max.
Bad.
Yeah, sure.
But the review of the game should be the game today. Because this is if somebody was going to go buy the game, is this the information they need? So I say we
That's
do it
fair.
for today.
Yeah, I'd say it's.
Sleep well, Incaria. Have fun, good luck. That's how you say it. That's still more stable than Shadow of Mordor was.
Nope, apparently we've got the wrong link again. It's not just me.
No, there's two different links. One is USP equals sharing, one is edit. It's doing both of them still. It didn't stop the one when I offed it.
Uh-oh. I may have broken RageBot. Okay, just ignore that link. I'll fix RageBot at some point in the future.
This is what happens when you test in production.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna say that we should talk about bugs today if you were to buy the game today, and I say it's good. There was really nothing to complain about that was in the bugs. Nothing was disappearing.
Although
nothing was deleting, nothing was changing.
I think we do need to mention the bugs that were there earlier in the game's life cycle.
I'll agree. We'll mention them, but it won't affect the rating.
Yeah, it's definitely good that they still fixed them.
I don't think I played through the 2 DLCs. What you gave me is not the DLCs. Guessing so.
I don't think so. The DLCs is playing as the one leader guy.
Those are included, but no, I did not play through them.
Yeah, I haven't played them either. I don't know why. I just never got around to that. I think after like the slog that is the main game, you just get pretty burnt out on that whole.
You're describing it as a slog, and I can't agree more.
Most of the games I play, unfortunately, turn into slogs. But that one it definitely gets up there.
The mechanics, I'm gonna say okay. There was some potentially really cool mechanics in the game, and they would have been really, really cool if they used them.
I have one important point. The Nemesis system is a mechanic of the game, and the Nemesis system is fucking fantastic.
Yeah, it would be an absolutely amazing mechanic if they used it. Glad it's in the game, though.
Define not using it.
I think it happened to me once in the playthrough. Twice, something
Just
like that.
because it didn't happen to you doesn't mean you can't use it. Like the Nemesis system is the whole promoting, demoting, shaming, killing off orcs and manipulating their ranks. That is the Nemesis system.
That's more than just the Nemesis part of the system.
Just because you didn't get a Nemesis doesn't mean that you weren't using the system. The system is that whole thing.
Okay, I'm now more clear with what you're referring to. I'm thinking specifically the part of creating them, getting killed, and them leveling up, and that doesn't happen to me much. Die? Much? Really?
But sure, fair, but that entire system is called the Nemesis system.
Fair enough. I was unaware of the fact that you're referring to the entire promotion leader. Yeah, that part's cool. I like that.
Yeah, I'd probably lean on saying it was good. Like I don't think I've played a game that had anything close to that, and I had a lot of fun with that stuff. I'm not sure if you ended up ever shaming a bard, but if you make them deranged, they lose their song. And he's like, my song, why can't I remember my song? And every time you go back to him, he doesn't have a song. He just says, let's sing, or I can sing, but he can't sing his actual song anymore. Just the management stuff I thought was good. I liked recruiting it. I actually cared about my people. I cared a lot about Chopper. I took him back. I forced him to work with me again, and then he ended up dying for me in one of the last castle defenses, and I got fucking super sad and then resurrected him, but when you resurrect him, he's just a zombie, so he's not the same person anymore. I'm like, yeah, this sucks. And I felt bad. It made me actually give a shit about these people. They weren't just like cannon fodder at that point. I actually cared about some of the people that were there. If my bard died, I was like, fuck, no, I need him. He's hilarious, and also he's high level. But I think it was really cool about like, it's definitely something they could have done better, but I think those mechanics were done well. I think they were very different from most other stuff I've played in a similar vein. I mean, they could have just done another one of the original games and just probably been fine, but I liked how they added so much more to just the overall personality and just the feel of it. It became it's a management thing.
I'm 100% with you on the giving personality to the orcs in this one, and that's why characters got a good. It's just because of the orcs. The rest of the characters are just okay. It's a character, but the orcs were so good, so good. I loved them. I found most of their lines approached Borderlands level comedy writing. Great.
So overall, for mechanics, I would say that with the Nemesis system intact, even the fact that the combat was pretty samey and not terribly interesting doesn't quite take it out of a good because of how good the Nemesis system is. Like, I personally hate these games. I think they're just a waste of time. But the Nemesis system is amazing. It is so well done. It is the redeeming factor.
Okay, you've convinced me.
Yeah, I'd really like to see that in some other game. But
Yeah,
like,
yeah, me too. I'd like to see it.
Anything else, I'd be freaking fantastic.
What
even
if
just
they,
like some RTS.
What if they had a system similar to an Elden Ring?
Ooh.
That'd be exciting.
With actually difficult combat where you can expect to die often until you master it, and there will be consequences.
You know, I don't know, Diothy. Douthy, or however you pronounce that, my mistake. Did they remove the microtransactions? Apparently there were microtransactions in this game.
I don't think they did. It was under that garrison menu that I never went into, as far as I know. Yes, they did.
They scaled it back a lot more. It was a wall on release. It was like, I'm pretty sure they tried to make this game in the style of an MMO where you would just like slog out to max level, which is beating the game, and then after you do that, you have an army that you want to take like online with multiplayer, and then they had these loot boxes to like increase your captain's levels and increase their gear, increase their abilities and stuff like that, and that was super terrible. Never caught on. But I think that's probably why they saved all the stuff for after the storyline because I think they tried to make it multiplayer and just failed at it horribly.
And I can probably answer that for Rage for you, Val. Both.
These games, do you mean games that ape the Arkham combat engine or open world games in general? Definitely both. I enjoyed the original Arkham Asylum because it was contained and it wasn't about the combat. There was combat in it, but it wasn't about the combat. Other than that, hated them. Complete waste of time.
I couldn't even get him into Horizon Zero Dawn. I'm still trying because that one's actually worth playing.
I've legitimately tried to play Horizon Zero Dawn. You know what happens? I put down the controller after the first session, and then I literally never pick it up again.
Yeah, you definitely have to get a little ways into it to start encountering the larger machines more regularly, where you're like, I can't just ride through here. What's going on around me?
Yeah, but the combat's uninspiring. I don't care. I want to ride through there to get to the interesting thing on the other side.
It has some open world-itis. I found it had less than some games I play. It definitely has less than Witcher.
Yes.
Luckily, fast travel around quite a bit, and then eventually, like the mounts go super fast. It doesn't. I hate games that are like you can only sprint for this, and now you're tired and have to stand still. I'm like, I don't care. It's a video game. I want to just run. Especially if it's open world, like I just want to go. Please don't make me wait for no reason. I can understand in like combat, but if I'm just walking from one place to another and I can go faster, please just let me go faster.
Yeah, if you're going to be expected to go long distances, stop stopping us from running. I'm 100% with you. My main gripe from Horizon Zero Dawn is with most of the side quests really uninspired. Yeah, I'm with you. The main quest story was very intriguing, though. I loved it. I loved getting all the details.
Also, oh my goodness, is that game ever pretty?
Yeah.
That is a very, very pretty game.
And the fact that they were able to do it on PS4 Pro hardware is just
Even the standard PS4, it looks amazing on my standard PS4.
yeah. Yeah, just console hardware doing that was just staggering at the time. First Witcher I find had a decent map size, not too big, almost perfect. Yeah. Yeah, it's Witcher 2 and Witcher 3 was the one I tried to play, and I couldn't.
Witcher 2 I didn't find terribly offensive because of how strong its storyline was. Like, you could totally play the game just following the storyline and not be, like, too put off by having to go run here and there in the other place and do all these things. But Witcher 3 I did find very offensive as far as open world-itis goes.
I like that. They looked like IKEA employees on vacation.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with that either. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with the combat and the story and the control. That's one of my big things. I love good control in a game. If a game controls really, really, really well, I will be drawn to it. And that game controlled well. It did what I wanted pretty much all the time.
I agree. The only thing I would change about that game is give me the ability to use a mouse and keyboard. That's it. It's the only thing I would change.
For Horizon Zero Dawn?
Yeah.
I think it just came out on PC.
It is.
Yep. Well, it's going to be coming out on PC, and I'm going to be trying to play it again after buying it for the second time. I also bought Final Fantasy 15 twice. I don't know why.
I didn't buy it once. I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan, but that's not Final Fantasy. It hasn't been Final Fantasy since 10. There hasn't been a real Final Fantasy game since 10. All the rest of them should be like Final Fantasy Fake MMO and Final Fantasy Hallway Simulator, and just stop giving them numbers and give them little side titles.
Hallway Simulator was pretty good.
No, it wasn't.
I liked Hallway Simulator.
No, you didn't.
Yes, it did.
No, you didn't.
I managed to get all the way through the tutorial. That's pretty good for me in a Final Fantasy game. Yeah, apparently. Apparently I love loading times in boy bands. Apparently that's my thing.
I did finish Final Fantasy 15, not because I enjoyed it, just because it was so easy to just steamroll through it in a quick little span without ever stopping. I actually beat the game without a single death and just kind of destroyed the whole game without grinding or stopping. Just bring a lot of potions and you'll be fine. Just keep using win. I did end up having one death, which made me quit playing the game while I was going around doing the side quests. It wasn't fighting anything. I did start fighting Adamantoise and take like 5-10% of his health off before looking at how long it took me doing a little bit of math and going, yeah, no, fuck this. It wasn't hard. It was just very time consuming, and I didn't want to fight an enemy for an hour. That doesn't sound fun.
It's like Adamantoise farming in 13. You got to do it by just spamming death.
The combat is going to be exactly that. They're turning it real time. You only have one character control. Not only that, they have fluffed it out to the point where they say, we can't release it as one game. We need to release it as 3 games. How much bigger have they made it that they cannot put it in one game anymore? There's not a lot of room to add stuff to this classic game. Don't be adding stuff to the classic game. You want to sell it to us to experience it? Give us the original experience. That's why it's fantastic. You guys don't have the skill sets to remake it properly. Stop fucking with it. It's going to be terrible.
I don't disagree.
There's my rant on it.
Plus, it's going to be like half a terabyte.
Yeah, I mean, the entire disc is just Midgar. That means you can go into every building in Midgar probably and explore all these places with so much more depth and talk to characters that will say stuff like, the weather is nice today. Because that's Square Enix for you. They're the kings of fluff. I love how Squeenix shunned IO Interactive and let them go over Hitman doing the episodic approach. Then they turn around and make one of their most anticipated games episodic.
Mm-hmm.
Spot on. Square Enix does not have a great history for making decisions. Most of the decisions I've seen them make have been horrible.
So here's my thing with Final Fantasy VII going to be like half a terabyte. Modern games these days take up a lot of disk space. You got to have really high res textures, got to have really high res audio. It is, all of the pre-rendered video. It is very expensive on a disk. That being said, the way that Squeenix is handling the Final Fantasy VII remake is that they're trying to give you every little piece of detail possible. Like Deus was saying, the first disc is Midgar. It means you're gonna be able to go into like basically every building in Midgar. They've got to have audio files for all of those characters. They've got to have textures. They've got to have interiors. They've got to have meshes. They've got to have a million and one things just to make all of those spaces work. They've got to have all these maps set up. They've got to do specular lighting for all of them, pre-compute all these shaders, bake them in whenever they can, and it's going to get very expensive on disk. The new Call of Duty, I think, is like 180 gigabytes or something, and that's a Call of Duty game. Like, that's a Call of Duty game. There's nothing there. If you're trying to make a story / world driven game like Final Fantasy VII, the sheer space that you're going to take up on disk is insane. And I've ranted so long that my computer paused Spotify.
Arc right now is hovering around 200 gigabytes. Yeah, exactly. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about. So, while we're talking about how big games are, let's drop one of my favorite trivia facts. If you put an NES emulator on, and you hit print screen, and take a picture of the game you're playing, in that NES emulator, that JPEG picture of your monitor spot will be larger than the original NES game was on the cartridge.
Yep.
You would not be able to hold the JPEG of a still frame of that game on the cartridge that held the game.
That's when programmers used to be good.
Yep.
And I say that as a programmer.
Original NES cartridges were 128 kilobyte.
And you had to be so creative with how you worked with memory addresses and figuring out like where you can afford to store things that aren't on disk, and figuring out how to pre-compute things based on procedures that you know are going to happen. If you made the image in really tiny and entirely orange, it would almost fit. That's true.
Yeah.
You're
At least
not
the resolution
wrong.
was
You're
slow
not
back
wrong.
then.
Yeah. It is, not Avengers style releases. There are games with no bloat. Yep. Sekiro was 16 gigabytes, I believe.
And the game looks fantastic.
Oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful. Amazing what happens when you let developers who know what they're doing make it. Those guys can write a combat system too. My God. Neo 2 has blazing.
Ori 2 is 4 gigas.
Yeah, that's not surprising. It is more of the 2D image, less texturing, less meshing.
Meshes is where you go up on that. Meshes are brutal in size nowadays.
You can swear your
you can
fucking
swear all you
face
want.
off. Yeah.
But anyway, back to what we're actually doing.
It was just so much more interesting than Middle-earth for that moment.
We're getting very sidetracked again.
and we may have to argue this one because I'm going to be hard to move on it, but the control was bad.
Why do you think I'm going to disagree with that?
I think Super might.
I put okay. It definitely wasn't good, but I mean, it played. There was some times when I'm trying to jump to certain ledges and it was like, but I haven't played any game of that style that did that well. Even the Assassin's Creed games, half the time I'm trying to jump to the right ledge.
Other games being bad does not mean this one is good.
I know, but I'm just saying that it's that type of genre. It's comparable, and people say that those games have good controls.
That's like saying, you know, MMO launches are always bad, so it's okay that this launch is bad.
Not really,
Yeah, it
because
is.
because people said these games have good controls, is my point. And this game had comparable controls to games of that style, was
Well,
my
just
point.
because those people said those games had good control doesn't mean those people were right. Those people were wrong. It was almost like 20% of the
I'd
time.
argue that some of those, yeah, I mean, I'd still argue that some of those Assassin's Creed games, the controls were still okay, and that was my point, that the game has okay controls.
Yeah, but I don't think it does.
Yeah, but
Like
I'm
half.
just saying it's okay.
Of-
I'm just saying it's okay. Like, we
I-
don't have to agree on everything. But I'm just saying my point is,
I-
it was a, it
like
definitely needs improvement. But I mean, if
you're
it was
in a
terrible,
you're in a group combat situation. There was more times where I killed my own orc trying to attack the guy beside me than I actually attacked the guy beside me. I mean, it's not quite Terminator shooting the explosive barrel at your feet bad, but it still would not attack the target I wanted it to attack most of the time. Or, you know, like there was one time where I hit attack with this thing just a little off center here, and he jumped like 30 feet to the side behind me and went over and hit one of my own guys.
I never had that. I never really attacked my own guys too much. It was only if they like got in the way, but most of the time I auto aimed on them, kind of at a frustrating level where it just would always just zoom and hit people, but always hit the right, like hit the enemy, but like it got monotonous of like I can't miss my strike. It's just gonna like hit that guy. I like to be able to like have the like dodge or something and not be animated. But I mean, other than that, like the climbing and the combat overall and stuff like that, I just found it was okay. I mean, it worked. It didn't frustrate me all the time. Besides the times I got stuck, other than that, it was just it was okay.
Yeah, that's basically my experience as well. I mean, I finished it on stream Invalid, but yeah, it's a wholly it's a Denzel Washington movie. After you watch it, you can tell people what's on the cover of the movie.
What did we have that experience with? You and I went and saw a film like 2 years ago. And when we left the theater, within 5 minutes, we were talking about something entirely
that was
unrelated.
Suicide Squad.
Right.
That wasn't quite the same thing. That one was like we started complaining about it, and then we've just like ended up silent after like a couple minutes of complaining. And we were like, "That movie was so bad, you can't even complain about it for more than 5 minutes." What more can you say than that was terrible? I don't know. Yeah, I found that most of the time, the game just did not do what I wanted it to do. Howdy, Raven. How's your Saturday, buddy? As far as the difficulty goes, my only complaint was how sometimes the orcs would adapt in the middle of combat too much. If they already started out with immunity to too many things, then suddenly they adapt to the 2 methods you have to hurt them, and we're kind of fucked. There was more methods than that to hurt them, though.
Well, they could
I
be
always
immune to
found
things.
Yeah,
There was a
became
few
immune
times where they had
eventually, but-
immunity, and then they would adapt, and they're like, "Well, all I can do now is like casual attack." Because if I try to hunt or, it was the most frustrating thing. It was like you go to vault and it's like adaptive attack.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's probably the one redeeming factor I think in the mechanics of the combat system is that they would force you to use different, like, I remember one where I could no longer freeze him, I could no longer vault him, he was immune to the headshots, and I couldn't pin him. Maybe I could have pinned him. I should have tried pinning him, because there's a lot of things you can do, and there was no anything around, and I couldn't summon my grog, so I ended up having to roll sort of to the side and then attack, and then I'd come at him on the side and be able to give him 1 or 2 hits on the side, and having to actually try in combat every once in a while instead of just finding one broken approach and using it all the time was probably one of the few things I enjoyed. Still angry at Halo for establishing the 2-gun convention in... Really? I love Kimbo.
No. Like only being able to carry 2 weapons at a time.
Oh! I mean, it's realistic. It worked well for Halo.
Yeah, but it's not realistic for Halo. The Master Chief is like 7 feet tall and like 600 pounds of muscle plus his power armor. He can carry as many guns as he goddamn wants.
Fair enough. He is basically Doom Guy.
His armor should definitely have like a bajillion ulsters. Like
I'm
not
with
just
you. I'm with you. I'm with you. But it is still like in a lot of cases I can understand it and see it as realistic and understandable. But yeah, no, the game that invented it should not have invented it.
But like modern military shooters, yeah, you carry two carbines or rifles or whatever, and yeah, fine, okay.
He's the tank version of Doom guy. Yep, that's an apt description. So the people that played it, what do you think? Did you find the controls okay, or would you call them bad? To me, if a game more than 2 or 3 times in a play session doesn't do what I wanted it to do, I start calling it bad. That's just, I love games that control well. It works in many cases, but it's applied to like everything. Yeah, I'm with you. Just because a good mechanic is a good mechanic doesn't mean it should be used every single time. I'm with you on that. Different mechanics for different situations. Different games have different balances.
I too would love it if they showed every single weapon on Doom Guy's model in Doom Eternal. That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Just a walking armory.
Yeah, I would like to see it. If you haven't seen it, Mythbusters did an episode where they made a Doom level and laid out weapons all over the Doom level and had to run through the level with paintball guns, shooting people dressed as demons and carrying all the weapons as they went through. And first they timed just changing weapon every time to set a time, and then they timed themselves carrying everything to see how much it affected their time. And then to rule out bias and account for training, they actually brought in a Marine to do this for them. And I won't spoil it, but the result was very surprising. It's the same with the heal from bullet wounds by just behind cover. Yeah, by hiding behind cover. Gotcha. Mechanic common in FPS games, it got overused and often made 0 sense for the character. Agreed, they're just trying to make the game playable, and a lot of the time they're including a mechanic that people are familiar with and comfortable with because they're familiar and comfortable with it, and it'll make their game easier for people to pick up and play.
Or more fun.
Lazy.
Realism is not always something that ends in fun. It is often something that ends in not fun. Like if you have to eat or poop during your game, like you're just sitting there waiting for your character to eat or poop. Like that's okay, the first time it happens, that's pretty hilarious, but then after that, come on, I want to go play the game.
Completely goofy and unrealistic, but I would love to see more games add shoot allies for healing/buffs. Yeah, that's a fun mechanic. I'm with you. The healing guns. Realistic jump physics will ruin almost any 2D platformer. Yep.
Ruins most games, actually. Turns out people can't jump very high.
Yeah, people kind of suck at jumping.
And just in general.
Even really good jumpers. So I put it as okay, but I still stipulated that would often do too much for you. This would result in it doing the wrong thing.
Was already impossible.
The devs of Lion King said that the publisher kept demanding they make the jumps realistic so you can't change your direction mid-jump, and they had to argue that'd make the game unplayable. Yeah, that game was a punishment. If parents fully understood gaming back in those days to punish their child, they would have said, you sit here and you beat that game. You would not misbehave again. Oh, I'm gonna have to play through the Lion King again? Fuck.
Effective punishment. We're almost there, though. We're almost there. Let's wrap this review up.
Let's kill it. And I think the RNG was good. It wasn't relied to damage. I could predict the results of combat when I went in. The RNG was used in the Nemesis system for some odds of people doing this or doing that, but then there was always a mechanic, a reason, an explanation to affect the percentages of those odds. You could understand it beforehand if you went in with enough knowledge. It didn't affect your damage, it didn't affect your crits, it didn't affect anything important. Even the crits were a skill shot that you could greatly increase the RNG by just hitting click right before you hit the... They also openly admitted the monkey puzzle and elephant graveyard levels were mandated by the publisher to make the game unfinishable in a rental. Yep. Possibly hard for the single purpose of making the game unfinishable. I mean, that's a lot of games in that era, though.
On the point of RNG, though, I think I have to agree with you. I think it was a good usage of RNG. It wasn't offensive. It was appropriate. I think the Nemesis system used it well. I really liked the fact that crits weren't just RNG.
The enemies rolling new resistances didn't happen. I mean, it happened. It didn't happen that much to me. But I also didn't rely on one strategy over and over and over again. Like, if I could vault a guy, I would vault him, but then the next time I might smash him in the face with my ranged hammer a couple times to daze him and attack him, and then dodge to the side, or, you know, make sure I'm behind him, or do something else, trying not to do things over and over again. And that means that you can actually affect the odds of them adapting by not doing it over and over again, which brings in a player skill element. It reduces the RNG odds, and you can have some control over that happening. I think that puts it into a good range. It's less RNG that way.
I also just liked the orcs RNG. Didn't feel it felt balanced enough. Like you had a good mix. It always felt different who you were fighting, especially like personality, name, even, and just like overall just feel of who you're encountering. It didn't feel like, oh, you know what, I'm fighting this guy again. Even when I ran into a different bard, I'm like, oh, he sings a different song. He has a different personality, whole different name, and, you know, different level set. And I thought they did a really good job with utilizing RNG without having it be either too broken because it's too wild or just too predictable where you're just like, okay, it's just like you could, after a few times, see the template that they're copying from. Or for me, it's like hard. Even the names, like I figured I'd run into the same names again, but I wouldn't, which is surprising, seeing how if you fight captains and any orc can be a captain, they start shouting their name. So like that was pretty impressive.
Cool. I mean, I did see the same certain names again and again, but then I'd always see some names rarely, and that's good randomization of names because that's how names work. There are popular names and there are less popular names. That is how you should be generating your names if you want a realistic distribution. Like Braca. There's lots of orcs named Braca. That's like John in orc.
Yeah.
But that's fine. They were all different Bracas. They were quite unique from each other. Well, something you could vault an orc only twice and they'd instantly adapt, and if it's a shield user, that was almost like a death sentence. Often those shield users, if they adapted to vault, I would go to ranged shots to the head, which usually one or two would stun them, and then they wouldn't be able to block my attacks for a while, or a pin, and then while they're going for the pin, you can start some hits and get a combo off on them. Considering the sheer number of orcs you ran into, I thought they did a good job with the variety. Or if I had a real issue with the adaptation, I might have to run for a little bit, but there's usually enough explosives and poison sources. Like any grog barrel, you can poison it and then shoot it to do a blast of poison if they're not flammable, and there was ways to deal with them. You just had to be creative. If it wasn't for that, and I just ran at everything head on and just, you know, right-clicked my way through it without ever stopping, I probably would have been less entertained by the game.
Which I think is one of the reasons why I don't enjoy this style of game very much. Because I'm much more focused on, like, just give me a constrained set of mechanics, and I'm going to be as good as I humanly possibly can at them.
Mhm.
I'm going to stand toe to toe with you. I'm going to fight Owl 2 for 4 hours, finding a 2-frame window where instead of stepping back, I can step forward, and I'm going to beat the boss that way.
The I'm with you. I'm with you. I like being the badass, not my character being the badass, and that's the best way I ever heard it put. Dark Souls to other games in the design. In Dark Souls, in that type of game, your character is just a normal guy. He is not badass in the least. All of the badass comes from you. In other games, you don't have to be badass. He's badass for you. That sums up Middle Earth as well. He's badass for you. You don't need to be good. Just hit attack a whole lot and he'll kill everything. Everything. Die. You have to right click. Well, I hit block button once in a while. I was keyboard mouse by necessity because the game won't let me play. I thought it was great at Sekiro until I fought Owl 2. And then I found out how to counter him and I felt dumb.
It is a legitimately hard fight, especially if you're me and trying to step forward through the one-hit KO. Turns out there's a 2-frame window there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gave up on Sekiro because I reached a point where I was just not having fun. And that's entirely possible, you know. It might just not be the game for you. Not everybody wants to have that challenging approach to a game. But interestingly, this game ended up better than I thought it would.
Yeah. I'm not surprised that video got a good.
Yeah, neither am I. It's a triple
It
A.
is very pretty.
It's
Or
a
this
triple
stuff
A.
works. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ugly AAAs.
Yeah.
Look at fucking the new wrestling game. My God, the hair physics.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But, I mean, when you have a big budget project and a lot of money goes into the video, then it's expected. It's not surprising when the video gets good. Wasn't getting better, wasn't enjoying it, stopped. Yeah. That's why I want to do one of our next panels, and maybe... No, next week is going to be Doom. Next week we're going to talk about Doom Eternal for busy. 2 hours. Where the panel will be just talking about Doom. The panel will probably start as I stop playing Doom, and then after the panel, we'll play more Doom Eternal. That's what next week is. I have Friday off work. I'm going to start it the moment the game drops. Sekiro is one of those games that requires focus like 100% of the time. So if you get mentally exhausted easily, it's going to be hard to play it for more than an hour. Yes. That is one of my problems with FromSoft games.
Agreement.
Sometimes I'm just like, I really want to play this game. I love this game, but I don't have the mental fortitude right now.
Yeah,
That
sometimes
has
your
been my
head's
life
not
for weeks.
Sometimes your head's not in it, and you're just gonna have a bad time.
However, we did do a previous panel, and Invalid. I recommend watching it. It might help. It's called Getting Good State Machines. And we go over state machine transitions, how they're used in games, and how we can use knowledge of how this is working in the back end to anticipate when the safest times to attack bosses are. It's not 100% translatable to Sekiro, but it does translate very well to the Dark Souls. And we do want to do a Sekiro Getting Good where we go over the mechanics of Sekiro to help people get into the game. That'll be coming up.
Don't compare Dark Souls to Sekiro.
Yeah.
There's your problem. It's an entirely different game. I love Dark Souls 1. I have 700 hours in Dark Souls 1.
Yep.
It's not even close to the same game.
They're not the same mechanics at all. They're a completely different approach to combat. Like if I were to play Dark Souls the way I play Sekiro, I would get trashed by every single enemy.
Ninja Gaiden Black. Ooh, that's a fun game. I like that game.
I have not played it.
It's difficult in the sort of bash your head against it, and just it requires such precise timing sort of way. It's not a game that I think like most people would enjoy, but I really enjoyed it.
Sounds like I'd probably enjoy it. When a car is fair. I'll make you a deal, CarTube. Finish Sekiro, and I'll play it on stream.
No, that's a deal.
Sounds like a deal to me. And don't compare
do
every
it.
game that's hard to Dark Souls because the game is hard. Absolutely. Absolutely bored. In fact, the combat and the difficulty in Dark Souls isn't even the best part or the defining feature of it. It's the lore and the delivery of the story. The way they deliver the story changed everything in gaming and brought it back to the old NES, cryptic, deep thinking and critical thinking in order to understand what's happening. And it's so good. Deflect mechanic is basically what's going to make or break someone's enjoyment of Sekiro because you must use it to succeed. Okay. You must use it to succeed normally playing it your first time.
No, you must use it. The game gets infinitely harder without using deflect. Lobos has done a no deflect run. It was the most boring and stupid thing I've ever seen.
Yes, but people still do no deflect runs. That's my point. Like, it's not essential. You can do it without it, but you shouldn't. Hey, thank you very much. Welcome
Jaggernaut
back.
just
Jaggernaut
resubbed for 4 months. Howdy.
Howdy, howdy, sir. Pleasure to have you along for the ride. Hope you enjoy your seat at the table.
Did my internet drop there for a second?
No, I think you're good.
Yay, I'm back.
And I think we're good. We've gone a little overtime, but we were talking about games we love, and you get me talking about games, and warning, may start talking about games.
It does happen.
But thank you very, very much for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed the review. Next week, Doom. Week after that. And let's just agree with this now so we can all do some prep because it's a fun and interesting topic, and I hope some of you join for this one. I would like to do why people play games.
That's a good one. I like that one. That's a good topic.
Okay, so the week after that, it's very important. As a game designer, you may be asked to make a game and you need to understand why people would play that game. If you only play your own niche of games, it's hard to understand. Like, if I were to go out and try to make a fighting game, I would probably make a shitty fighting game because I have no idea why people play fighting games. Yeah, too many reasons. So we'll go over them,
Well, as many as we can come up with within a 2-hour window.
Yeah, like the person who plays Skyrim is probably not going to like Dark Souls because they obviously don't play games for the same reason. We'll dig into
Just
that.
like the guy who plays fighting games may not enjoy first-person shooters.
Yep.
It may not be the same sort of thing that they're into.
Yep, exactly. Monster Hunter. Lean more into the Monster Hunter speed of things. Slow, high commitment, but plenty of time to consider what's coming. And I am classically an MMO person. Invalid. My biggest claim to fame so far was a world third kill of Regulus in Rift. That was fun. World third, server second. Still salty about it. And then there's me, who plays pretty much everything except very specific games. Yeah. I play a little bit of every genre as well, House Kid, and what I do is I classify certain games genre as just transcendent. Like, this game is so good, it doesn't matter if you don't like this type of game, you'll probably like it. It's not a long list of games. I will try to put together an actual list of transcendent titles. Off the top of my head, Doom 2016, Chrono Trigger, Dark Souls 1, Bloodborne, yeah.
Big nods for all of those games. And I introduced you to quite a few of them.
A couple of them, yeah. Yeah. But there's others. Yeah, we'll work on it. But until then, thank you very, very much for joining Games by Design this Saturday afternoon. I am Deus.
I am Rage.
I'm Pseudo.
May all your shots be headshots.